Good afternoon and a warm welcome. COVID-19 pandemic has created huge disruptions in our lives with more than 3 billion people across the globe in lockdown or semi-lockdown mode. And out of these, 1.25 billion are children and 356 million from India. Can you imagine the numbers? The schools closed in mid-March and it's still not clear when will the schools open. Now, learning must never stop, and government, schools, various organizations are making utmost effort to continue the learning in virtual mode. So, welcome everybody for today's session on making online schooling safe for children. I, Nisha Dua, am your host for the session, and we have eminent line of speakers who will be sharing their insights. May I now invite Dr. Dr. Rakesh Maheshwari, who's Scientist G Group, Coordinator Cyber Laws and Security Group from Ministry of Electronic and Information Technology, METI. A warm welcome, sir.
Thank
We're
you.
also joined by Dr. Angel Ratnabai, Assistant Professor, CIET, NCRT. We welcome you, ma'am. From civil side, I want to invite Captain Vineet Kumar, Founder and President, Cyber Peace Foundation. A warm welcome, sir. And also welcoming Advocate Pushpamitra Bhargava, former Deputy Advocate General, MP High Court. A very warm welcome to all our speakers and many thanks for joining us despite your busy session. So the format of the session would be that we will be asking questions from all the panelists who are representing government, education, civil society, and legal system. So we'll be asking them questions pertaining to cyber safety and security, especially with regard to virtual learning. And I request the panelists to make their answers a bit brief, not more than 4 to 5 minutes. So can we start with you, Mr. Maheshwari, please?
Yeah, please.
So the first question is, cyber safety, security, and privacy are somewhat overlapping terms for our young minds. They kind of get confused. Could you please elaborate on the concept of each one and why they are so important in the times of online learning? Sir, over to you.
Yeah. So thank you, Nisha ji, and thank you NCPCR for having invited us and maybe giving us an opportunity to talk about our views. So as far as these three terms, which are quite correlated, cyber security, when we say, it is about protecting organizational data and the information which is available in networks. So when I say organization, it in the context of maybe a small work from home office kind of a scenario, it can be your computer, in fact, your mobile as well. So security of data on your computer, on your mobile, in your organization is all related to cyber security. But when it comes to protecting your users from the perils of internet, so there may be harmful content on the internet, there may be illegal, in fact, a lot of illegalities happening on the internet. So protecting the users from such illegalities and from such inappropriate content, if they do not want to see, then it's about cyber safety. Now, issue of privacy has become very important of late, wherein our personal data should not be shared other than to the authorized people, is about privacy. So my data does not go to anybody whom I am not interested to share, is what we say privacy. So privacy is about personal data. When it becomes organizational data, it becomes security. And when it is becoming my safety, then it will be called as cyber safety on internet.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for putting it so clearly and clearing the cobwebs of the mind about these three terms. We move on to Dr. Angel. Dr. Angel, NCRT has been making huge efforts in stepping up the virtual learning and making sure that the student, even in the remotest area, are also included in the learning. Could you please throw light on the initiatives which have been taken by NCRT, and also if you can share how you've been sensitizing or making the educators or the schools aware of the online safety when the students enter the virtual platform? Dr. Angel? Dr. Angel, your mic is muted. Could somebody please?
Yes,
yeah.
I've muted it. Sorry. Thanks for putting this question forward. And I would like to just throw light on the various initiatives taken by NCRT for leveraging the digital education. It's not only in the lockdown, it has been long time we have been working on it, but now it has really got a very long demand for this digital education initiatives. So some of the initiatives are related to providing access to free digital resources to give content free to everyone through different modes. Some of the modes is like we are also providing the digital resources through mobile apps, which we call it as ePathshala app. And we also provide the content through online portals, like we have one portal for India, which is a government initiative, which is the Diksha. And we also have the open educational resource. We also want to bridge the digital divide in accessing resource with the haves and have-nots. So we are providing content free of cost, which is free to download if you want to modify. So these contents are available in portal called NROER, which stands for National Resources Repository of Open Educational Resource, and also in the Diksha platform. So some of the other initiatives are also like we give training to teachers. It's not a new thing, but it's a mandate of NCRT to train, orient several stakeholders. So we have a platform where we have all the online course materials available, which is called as Swayam platform. It's a government initiative, but NCRT has 24 courses on it. And also we have a teacher training platform, which is called as Nishta. In the last year, it was aimed to train 42 lakh teachers, elementary teachers. So this is a platform which is being used, and modules are available for teachers to access at any time, anywhere, and then learn by themselves. So these are some of the digital initiatives which has been taken to reach the people. But most of them are, if you see, it's all internet based. And as we are aware, 50% of Indian students are not having any access to internet at all. So we have a TV channel, as well as we have a channel called Swayam Prabha, which is a DTH channel, in which one of the channel is Kishore Manch, taken care by NCRT for the school students. So we disseminate content through the same platform. And all the orientation regarding cyber safety for all stakeholders are being done through all these platforms as well. So I would like to elaborate the different orientations which we are doing. So if I could elaborate one by one. One very important thing which we are doing at this lockdown period is conducting a series of webinars. It is almost we are almost completed around 40 modules of webinars. So we have done 10 modules on cyber safety and security. So 10 days modules were done on cyber safety with respect to lockdown itself, which will be very useful for students as well as teachers. So specific topics have been taken by experts, and it was not just to give a talk. It was more of a demonstration based webinar where a teacher can understand what things has to be followed, what security setting has to be done, like that. So that is one of the major thing which we have done during the lockdown period of conducting a webinar. But other things also we take care of it in all the other projects.
Thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Angel. And we really applaud the efforts made by NCRT. And we find that your Kishore Man channel is so vibrant and so engaging. And it is 7 days a week and for at least 8 to 9 hours a day. So it's actually very, very impressive, the kind of webinars and the topics which you are putting out. And I believe that the students, the parents, the teachers, there's a large number of audience also who are attending and who ask questions. And you kind of revert to every question on the ground. So there has been a tremendous feedback about NCRT's efforts in actually ensuring that learning must go on, and learning must go on very, very safely. Thank you, Dr. Angel. Now moving on to Captain Vineet. Captain Vineet is the founder and president of Cyber Peace Foundation. Cyber Peace Foundation has always been so passionate and focused in ensuring safe and peaceful cyberspace, especially for the children and youth, considering that the young learners are spending so much of time now online. So, Captain Vineet, I just wanted to ask you what additional efforts you are taking, especially at this time, to amplify the safety messages, not only amongst the children and the youth, but also the entire ecosystem, the teachers, the parents, the lawmakers, and the legal systems.
Yes, thank you, and it's really an honor to be here. Well, Cyber Peace Foundation, as the name suggests, we are a non-profit working for the safety and stability of the cyberspace through various initiatives. And the safety of children, women is one key initiative that we have. And through various initiatives like online safety of children, we have been working with NCRT, we have been working with NCPCR, with other state boards also on online safety. We do something called as the e-Raksha competition, which is basically a national level competition on online safety involving the children and also the educators. This is a joint initiative by the NCRT, the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, and in fact, Cyber Peace Foundation. This time, in fact, because the lockdown has increased, so we thought that e-Raksha is suitably fitted here, and we thought why not to increase the gambit and involve the youth also into this, because the youth as of now is at home sitting idle. So this we thought is a very wonderful way to engage people into the competition. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sorry. I saw.
Mr. Vineet, you would have to correct your audio. We are not able to hear you.
One sec. I think there's something wrong. Maybe you can shift to the other panelist while I just solve this problem. Yeah.
Fine. We'll come back to Captain Vineet in some time. Now, over to you, Dr. Bhargava. Captain Vineet, you'll have to unmute. Okay, there's some technical issue there. So we move on to Advocate Bhargav. Advocate Bhargav, in the present scenario, when children are compelled to go online to attend the virtual learning sessions, what safety precautions do you think the educators and parents must take to ensure personal and data security of the children, especially as most of them are below 18 years of age?
Thank you very much for calling me here. It's a pleasure joining this webinar, especially in this COVID times. Otherwise also, as per the data of 2018, more than 256 million students were away from the schools. Now, everybody is looking to join online schools. Almost all the schools in India have started their online classes. So as far as your question is concerned, the cyber world is a very complex world. There can be no straitjacket formula to provide security and protection. But the privacy of any individual, especially the childs, those who are the juveniles, is very important. The Honorable Supreme Court also in various cases has held that the right to privacy is a fundamental right.
Yeah.
So the basic protections which can be taken care of by the parents and the educators, school administrations, first of all, they should have the security level towards its best on all the levels, like first of all at the network level, operating system level, VPN, at the Wi-Fi level. Apart from that, for this conduction of online classes, there should be two-factor identification. Every time, each student should be issued a unique identity number. Like additional thing which can be given is that the passwords which are given to the students for the online classes should be given half an hour or 15 minutes before the classes commences. For live streaming, the softwares which are used by the school administrations, the government should frame specific guidelines for using these softwares. Apart from this tools, the best thing which is required to make the online schooling safe is to protect the privacy. And for that purpose, I think this 5-6 things should be kept in mind while going online. The very first thing we should do is that we should start conversation with the children. We must tell about the privacy. What is their privacy? A juvenile or a student who is below 18 years must know what is his or her privacy. Number 2, discuss the age restriction. He or she must be aware about the pros and cons of the age restrictions. This can only be done by creating awareness by the educators and by the parents. Always ask the students what worries them most, what creates a problem while they are online. So discussing this with the students can create an atmosphere to keep them safe. Number 3, the parents especially update the privacy setting, update the privacy sharing. Like for example, I just tell the Snapchat, you might have heard about the Snapchat. It always uses the location. So by changing the privacy, the location sharing can be stopped. The parents should always read the privacy policies and the notices which were given before downloading any software. The parents and the students should be made aware about the managing of the password. Above all, the most important thing which should be kept in mind while going online, especially in online schooling, the respectful behavior, because the behavior which the students are keeping in a live school is a part of life. But what they are behaving online can be misused. If they make a comment on his friend online, can cause a trouble, because that virtually affects the privacy of another student. So this encouragement of respectful online behavior is very, very, very important. Now, apart from that, I want to give suggestion, because a very good initiative has been taken by the NCPCR, NCERT, and the Cyber Peace Foundation. I highly appreciate the steps being taken for organizing such type of webinar, because that is the need of the time. By way of this webinar, I am making a request that for the verification of the age, there should be some rules to be framed, either by way of authentication or by way of an authentication through an Aadhaar card, because almost everybody is having an Aadhaar now. So without there being any identification by the Aadhaar, the age restrictions protocol should be followed. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Maheshwari, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, this is something, very, very challenging, particularly for authentication of users and verification of their age on the virtual world, in the cyberspace. See, we are already talking of privacy, we are already talking of security. Most of these platforms are being hosted from outside. We are already, lots of, I should say, challenges of Aadhaar security have already been talked. And if we provide Aadhaar or something similar to this external platform operating from outside India for the purpose of age verification, say from one end, it may be quite good, right? It may be quite good from one perspective, but simultaneously, they will have access to yet another data from us. And Aadhaar per se, Aadhaar Act itself does not allow sharing Aadhaar with outside agencies, other than for the purpose of DBT. So that's the
Yes,
challenge.
The suggestion is in
Maheshwari,
that
it is
perspective
indeed-
that we need to
Sorry.
come with a system which virtually takes care of the privacy also, our privacy also, and for the purpose of the privacy of a juvenile also. That was
Yeah.
my suggestion.
Yeah, so for that
It is
reason,
indeed yeah.
yeah, please. Okay, for that reason, in fact, I was going to continue that in the intermediary guidelines which MITI is developing, and in the draft Data Protection Act, so something is being done in the intermediary guidelines, which are, the revised version of which is about to be released. But in the draft Data Protection Bill, it has already been conveyed that for the purpose of authentication of users on the social media sites, that some means of verification, particularly voluntary means of verification, should be used, and those who have shared that verification mechanism, that authentication mechanism, somehow there should be some way of indication that this user has been authenticated by the platform. Some KYC has been done. So at least in the context of Indian users. So that's all. So voluntary part is being done, but mandatorily it cannot be done. And it's a real challenge to know in the virtual world the age of the user who is coming on the platform. And not
Thank you.
desirable also many times.
Yeah. It is indeed a double-edged sword, and we have to tread very, very carefully. And we are eagerly looking forward to the new data privacy guidelines by the ministry. And coming to Advocate Bharkar, you touched very important and very pertinent points and very sensitive issues too. We always say when parents give their children a bicycle, when they are 8 or 10 years old, they don't just let them ride the bike. They ensure that the child learns how to balance. They teach you about the rules. They teach the child the rules of the road and all kind of risks which are there on the road. We tell the parents similar thing. We tell them that when you give your children connected devices, it is like just riding a bicycle. Okay, for the first time, you have to sit with the child. You have to explain the risks involved, the do's and the don'ts involved, the responsible and respectful behavior involved. If we just hand over the phones to the children thinking that they are very tech savvy and they will manage on their own, there's bound to be trouble, because the kids may be much more tech savvy than us. But can they critically analyze or respond to certain inappropriate and alarming situations? Then the parents' help is most needed. Now, coming to Captain Vineet. Captain Vineet, you were sharing very interesting details about a competition, e-Raksha competition. Could you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, I'll just take it on from, in fact, Mr. Bhargav. What we are also doing is basically including cyber hygiene and basically cyber ethics. We're trying to integrate that into the curriculum. And also, one is educate children, second, educate the parents, and the third one, the caregivers. So we're trying to address the problem, in fact, by educating all these three stakeholders. And what we realized is that simply do's and don'ts aren't enough. So if we say, for example, if we share do's and don'ts with a child, that you do this, you don't do this, I see they don't care. They hardly care about it. But for example, if we engage them in a fun activity, for example, like what we experimented was e-Raksha last year. Last year we launched it with the help of NCRT, MHRD, in fact NCPCR, even UNESCO. We experienced that engaging in the activity, students learn a lot. And that could be reflected in various painting competition, in the blogging competition, video making competition. It was really nice. We got plenty of entries there. Another way was the hackathons again. Because now, in fact, simply one thing that I've seen is people generally ban students if they are not performing well. One thing that is generally done by the parents, educators, is simply taking off the devices from them. Let me be very frank, that strategy is not working. That is what, in fact, we found out in our recent research also. People, some or the other way, will get access to the technology. So the whole idea, what we are trying to do is making children tech ready and empowering them. Empowering them so that they learn about new technologies and how to be safe on the new technologies. Second, crimes can happen with anyone. So if, for example, if a crime happens with a child, he should not fear, he or she should not fear and should know where to report, how to report. And that's how the help is available. So this is one. And like I mentioned, we collaborated with UNICEF India, and we have produced series of videos on online safety for the children, cyber stalking, bullying, and in fact, how they can make use of tech in an innovative way. Learning on tech, because tech is filled with opportunities. So we tell them how to utilize the opportunity that the cyberspace has given, the positive side of things. And then slowly we dwell on the negative side of things. कि बोलते हैं कि हर अच्छी चीज के साथ कुछ बुरी चीज आती है और ये कुछ बुरी चीज है जिसे आपको जानना है और उससे बचना है. So that is the strategy that we have taken. So with UNICEF, Cyber Peace, and in fact with different state police, like yesterday we worked with Bihar government also, and now we are educating teachers on online safety. In fact, with the help of UNICEF, we have created a series of videos for the children, for the educators, and even for the parents on cyber parenting. Because as parent also, you need to know the difference between, for example, YouTube and YouTube for Kids. Safe search, there's something called a safe search. So these are some technologies that exist, which as educators, as parents, we need to know so that our children are safe online. So that's what we have been doing. e-Raksha is one. With NCPCR, UNICEF, again, we created another guideline for parents and for the student, which has been released just post-COVID, after the entire schooling went online. Because the future of schools, the future of work is all here because of the COVID-19. So, and entire classes now I see is going on different platforms. Zoom is one, Microsoft, in fact, Google Meet, different platforms exist. So we are creating series of videos again on Cyber Peace Corps, sharing it with educators, sharing it with children, so that they know basic, in fact, cyber hygiene and basic security that should be implemented while they are on the platform, be it email, be it web, be it social media, be it platform like Zoom. So that's what we have been doing.
So I'm sure this multi-pronged approach of creating awareness must be working so well, because today's kids are very smart. The moment you start the Gyan thing with them, they kind of switch off, and engagement is the key. When you have engaged the child, when you have got the attention of the child, then half the work is actually done. And Dr. Angel, I often come across, very interesting small booklets, very simply written booklets for the parents and for the teachers. I know the mandate of NCRT is education for the children, but it's so heartening to know that you are touching the entire ecosystem for the holistic development of the child. Can you please elaborate about such publications that you must have published recently?
To add to the point with Captain Vineet was talking about, just making things as do's and don'ts sometimes doesn't work, but still as a mandate, we thought there should be a reference material at least for somebody to start with, because it's too much of information in bed. When you go and say cyber safety tips, you can see 101 sites which are appearing and which is giving us details. So to make it crisp, NCERT has come out with a booklet on do's and don'ts for students, do's and don'ts for teachers, but a guideline for schools. What we understood from our interaction with students is if we could educate the school will in turn make the teachers to follow whatever is happening. And similarly, if until the teacher works out, the students cannot be educated. So we have made the guidelines, and we are also working on a guideline for parents, because we found there are a lot of risks which we are seeing. Other experts in cyber field which has been pointing out some of the risks. What we have observed, some of the risk especially even during lockdown period, when we are analyzing many scenarios, is three things. One we could see is the content risk itself, which is leading to a greater cyber safety risk. So to address this, we thought, like, we have also suggested that whenever school would like to give any content to the students, it should be curated. We were discussing about having a mail ID, like having an age restriction, but legally the children till primary class cannot be allowed to have a mail ID at all. Yeah. And we cannot ask them to come to any online class, because one or the other way, all the video conferencing tool demands an ID. And parents are not around to give ID sometimes. Some children have even written as comments that my father comes only in the night, so I'm deprived of being in the class because I don't have a personal ID. So these are some of the challenges. So we have also included in the guidelines saying that, like, a school should curate the content, and there are many national initiatives where the platforms are not asking for any validation through phone or through mail ID, but the children can access the materials relevant to their own age group, their own level, and the requirement of their subject. So this is also a part of content which we have included in the guideline, because many parents are not aware of this. Parents think that we have to purchase something. We have to always go and give our details, because most of the sites where educational content is given, they have to give the personal details. And during this COVID time, one of the area where most of the personal details is collected is the education field, because online education, everyone is ready to give anything for getting education. So many of them have been asked for a personal details, and people were giving. We also could hear that even some of the apps of the government or the organization like NCERT is getting duplicated, and some of money is being collected over the app. So these are some of the awareness which needs to go to the parents. So NCERT is working on a guideline for parents as well. But as Captain Vineet said, with this guideline is not always reaching everyone. This is one way we could do, but the other way is we have ICT courses for students. But earlier approach was having a chapter or having a separate content on cyber safety and security, which we have found to be not useful for students or teachers. The moment it says cyber safety, they say it is for computer science teacher. It is for students who are doing computer science. It's not for all. So it's a misconception which is lying among the children. So what we have done as an approach is an integrated approach. You talk about anywhere in the context. Bring up or don't keep cyber safety as a separate entity, but it should be as part of everything. So across the ICT curriculum, all the courses of students and teachers, we are integrating the content. And also we have this partnership for e-Raksha competition. And we also give some advocacy materials in terms of very small clips like videos, small, even in our Swayam Prabha channel. When one program there is a filler which is there. So we are planning to give a lot of cyber safety related tips as a filler. As we watch TV, we know very well, even a very small advertisement speaks more than the whole movie which we watch. So we are giving some fillers which reach to people very fast, especially to parents, because parents are not getting educated much regarding this area. And also we have proposed to have a cyber parenting session in the schools, at least to start with in all the NCERT schools. But when we say cyber parenting, again, people become little taken back whether I should go or not. And most of the time, parents argue that their children will never do such things in cyber world. parents doesn't accept. They all believe that their children are good. We have to make them understand maybe the children are good, but they can have opportunity, they have options to become a victim sometime. So it is also a need for a parent to get oriented. So that is why now we are taking a main stakeholder in cyber security as parents, because students are getting more or less exposure in many ways, and are always the agenda is to OT teachers. So we have taken 10 people every year from every state and oriented on cyber safety and security as state resource group. Now by this year, last 3 years, we have done so every state. We have created a 30-member group who is oriented on cyber safety, and they have been also spoken. We have them about they have to do the cyber safety awareness among the parents, students, and teachers in the respective states. So this is one of the initiative, and also it's a need of the heart which we are doing. If time permits, I would like to share 2-3 scenarios of risk which we are seeing in the current experiences.
For the case study, can I please come back to you? We would definitely like to hear them. Yes. Parents are a very important stakeholder in the cyber safety conversation besides the kids. Parents really don't like to get involved because of the digital, because they are digital migrants, and they think our children as digital natives are so much tech savvy, and they kind of keep themselves away. But that is not so. We are so glad that NCERT is making these wonderful initiatives. Now, coming back to what Dr. Angel shared about, fake sites coming up, which are asking for money.
There's no voice coming in.
Hello? Hello? Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
You are audible.
Yeah. Now, coming to the fake sites, which Dr. Ratnabai had pointed out that NCERT like fake sites and which are asking for money for such sessions, and people might be paying up because nobody thinks anything is free in this world. We can come back to Mr. Maheshwari, because government has taken lately very proactive steps for actually developing indigenous solutions which are so contextual to Indian needs and where data will be protected by Indian laws. So, Mr. Maheshwari, can you throw light on the few latest initiatives by Government of India in assuring that virtual learning must go on and must go on to safely and continuously?
Yeah. So, in the COVID era that we are living with now, it's going to be virtual. It's already virtual classes as of today. It's going to continue as virtual classes as far as the students are concerned. But it's not just about the students, it's also about enterprises, it's also about government, and everywhere it will be the new norm is work from home. And it is in this context, and because of the security and the privacy concerns, that Ministry of Electronics and IT, through the MyGov platform, has already announced a grand challenge for having an Indian virtual conferencing solution from the Indian entrepreneurs. The entry for this thing just closed on 30th of April. We have got, in fact, more than 700 plus, I should say, entries. And after first round of evaluation, we are still having more than 250 entries for the solutions being developed or having been developed by the Indian entrepreneurs for the virtual conference, virtual webinar kind of scenario. So that's one where we have taken the initiative. The second, of course, I mean, as far as fake sites and other things are concerned, see, on whichever platform they are there, all of them at present utilize the services of some fact-checking agencies. We, from our side, on 20th of March, just before the corona lockdown happened, issued an advisory to all the social media intermediary platforms that the in time to come there can be a good amount of fake information circulating on the social media sites, and that while they are intermediary, we requested them that if there is any proactive reporting or if there is any proactive learning to them of their own, then they should disable such misinformation, such fake information. However, if there is a fraud component involved into it, then there is a portal from Government of India, which is a national portal for reporting of cyber crimes, which is cybercrime.gov.in, where any such, I should say, cyber crime can be reported, including starting from inappropriate content to child pornography, to extreme obscene contents, to any financial frauds. In fact, cybercrime.gov.in for that reason has been once again, is coming out with a lot of advisories almost on a daily basis, and so is true with respect to the third agency, and that is MIT's own organization, which is CDAC, coming up with Information Security Education and Awareness Program, ISEA program. So infosecawareness.in is the site. Like Madam Dr. Angel Madam talked about lots of initiative from the NCERT side, predominantly meant for children, but now also including parents. So from the InfoSec Awareness platform, infosecawareness.in platform, we also have some such similar material for students, for parents, for children, for women, and maybe against in terms of safety and security in various popular apps. Maybe it is WhatsApp, maybe it's TikTok, maybe large number of advisories are available. So online material is available, and the same is conveyed offline, same is conveyed through TV and radio programs as well. So a good number of initiatives are there, but finally, if something goes wrong and something goes seriously wrong, particularly at the organization level, at the school level, so while you can always approach to the police for the cyber crime, for the cyber security, we have the Computer Emergency Response Team, Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT-IN, wherein such incidents can be reported. In fact, CERT-IN was always proactive, and as soon as people started using more and more of VC platforms, CERT-IN did come out with an advisory in February and later on on 30th of March about the safe and secure use of Zoom platform. And while the advisory was related to Zoom, but the fact remains that this advisory and the simple security tips which have been stated there can be used on any VC platform which the schools are using now. Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
finished. Yeah.
Yes, there has been a huge concern about using video conferencing platforms, but the CERT advisory really helped, and we found that the users, the parents and the teachers, they became very cognizant of the steps they have to take to protect their students and children. Thank you. We have talked of teachers and parents as the major stakeholders to ensure cyber safety. But what about the readdressal? Law enforcement agencies are a very important part in this spectrum. Captain Vineet, can you throw light on the why it is very important to engage and sensitize the law enforcement agencies in this entire conversation, and if Cyber Peace Foundation has done any initiatives in this direction? Captain Vineet, over to you. Excuse me. So, Captain Vineet, are you coming in? Okay, we can come. We can go back to him a little later.
Yes, I think there's some technical glitch here, but as I can see that in the chat, in fact, about the law enforcement, and I'll take it on from what Maheshwari ji had said. In fact, and since this is all about what school needs to know, I mean, one thing that school definitely needs to know is reporting. And like, again, Mr. Maheshwari ji actually mentioned about cybercrime.gov.in. So it's an excellent resource where people can go report online. There are two different forms. You can report online. In fact, you can also report anonymously for any of the crimes. If you know somebody is victimized, so that's how you can report. As schools, as institution, also you can report about a particular case if you know somebody is being victimized. Secondly, every state in India has a cyber cell. So people can also reach out to the nearest cyber cell, in fact, in their respective state, and the cyber cells again can help in registering the crime and also provide solution. Other than that, there are two different reporting channels. One is reporting to the platform itself. For example, if it's a child, again, and again, like all these cases of child abuse, stalking, bullying, people as parent, as educators, as school administration, they can also reach out to the platforms for a content takedown or for an immediate response. And anything related to child, platforms, they take it very seriously, and the takedown is much faster as compared to the regular cases. And the fourth option is DMCA, which is Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So this is particularly applicable for, I mean, companies which are there US based, all the tech companies, social media companies which are US based. So any of the content, if a thing has gone viral or it has been posted on a platform without your consent, you can even use DMCA, file the request, and the content gets taken down. So that is something that the school administration need to know when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to reporting. And also what I genuinely feel, and that's what we have been trying a lot, is to have ambassadors at the school level. Ambassadors like the student ambassadors, and ambassadors as the teachers ambassadors, so that the peer learning happens and there is first point of contact. So like in crimes, we say first response. So the first response is actually given by somebody in the school, and then it eases off a lot of things. Otherwise, we have seen students are in a state of panic. They have reached out to our helpline number saying that I'm going to commit a suicide. So that kind of scenario happens, and just by mere talking to them for 2-3 minutes, things actually ease out, and that's what. So first response, I think the schools need to have at least in their own setup, like somebody like a teacher who can be nominated, and like all these interesting programs which MITI is doing, with the NCERT is doing, we need to prepare those ambassadors who can actually respond and who can be the first responders.
Thank you, Captain Vineet. Children always listen to their peers. They think adults are always sermonizing. So I think the concept of ambassadors in the schools would work beautifully. The time is running out. I have a question for Advocate Bhargava. Advocate Bhargava, a little bit in brief, please, because of the paucity of time. The question goes as follows. When children face abuse online, many times they don't inform their parents. And even if they confide in them, the parents or the teachers are not sure if the particular act falls under illegal or unethical category. Could you please inform our viewers about various laws which address common offenses faced by children like impersonation, blackmail, bullying, trolling, sextortion, etc.? Advocate Bhargava?
Before coming to the specific, as you said, about bullying, stalking, I would like to share that Section 43 of the Information Technology Act, it provides for the definition and the civil wrong. There are two types of wrong in the information technology world. One is civil and other is criminal. So in any way, with intentions, anybody makes any effort or wrongfully access to the other's digital world, that is an offense. And the more specifically under the IT Act, Section 66 defines the punishments for the wrongs, like punishment for the identity theft that has been defined under Section 66. Section 66E also defines about the violation of privacy. Section 66(7) is about the transmitting the obscene material. So these are the specific sections which provides for the punishment. Now, as far as the juveniles are concerned, so there is a provision, but when it comes to juvenile, I personally think that there are two major acts which deals with the juveniles. One is the POXO, which was enacted in year 2012, Prevention of Children from Sexual Offences, and the other one is Juvenile Justice Protection and Care Act 2015. So these two acts really needs to be amended with the perspective of cyber laws and the cyber offenses in respect of a juvenile. Though the offense will be the same, but how is to be dealt with a juvenile? For example, somebody else uses the cell phone and posted something which is obscene. So there is no way to identify that who has actually done it. And the juvenile who has used it might not have an intention to do it. So the major offenses have already been taken care under the Information Technology Act and in the POXO Act 2012. Even the IPC deals with all such type of offenses. And as far as the reporting part is concerned, that has already been dealt by Mr. Vineet. So these are the major offenses which the parents and especially the educators should keep in their mind, that there should be no wrongful access. There should be no wrongful sharing with the bad intention.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Captain Vineet, would you like to add something to that?
No, I think everything has already been told by Mr. Bhargav, and reporting I've already covered. So that's really right. In fact, one point that again I'd like to reiterate, that majority of the crimes that get reported to us, in fact, through our helpline, it's informally reported, not formally. What we come across is children do crimes unknowingly. For example, I mean, posting somebody's photograph without a permission is also considered as a crime. You need to take proper consent before posting it on a public platform. So simple things like this, children, they don't know, and that's what need to be taught, in fact, and that is where we need to empower them at this stage.
Thank you. And Mr. Maheshwari, a quick last advice from you, that virtual learning is here to stay. And even after the lockdown era, I'm sure the schools are not going to open so soon. How do you think that schools and colleges should equip themselves in terms of building capacities of their people and investing in digital infrastructure to ensure continued virtual learning?
Yeah, so conventionally, maybe schools were investing more on teachers and on the classrooms and all those stuff, but probably felt that IT infrastructure is for educational purposes, having educational licenses will come free or will come at a much lesser cost. The focus had always been on functionality rather than security. So one thing is that the schools also now need to understand that whatever IT infrastructure, software, apps are being purchased by them, that they are secure. They also need to understand, therefore, that their IT budgets are going to be increased. The biggest problem, in fact, I see in this during the lockdown and in the COVID era, is actually the problems of teachers, who unfortunately, all of a sudden, it's not that they don't have to teach, they have to teach, as well as they are learning the basics of how to teach in the virtual world. And that is where they are finding the problem. In fact, I had a very nice cartoon to show that the teacher is having the midnight oil, so to be burnt, to be able to prepare for the next day class, while the children, say for example, are attending the class with the mobile, and in whatever position, wherever they are, they can simply attend and maybe not even attend, just be there and thereafter maybe move around. So the second thing, therefore, is that there has to be an investment in terms of teachers training and ensuring that they understand this fundamental security of whatever whatever tool technology that they are using. In fact, most of the schools have got a social media presence, and I know many of them, when things go wrong, things do really go wrong. And unfortunately, whether because of their own students or because of their own teachers or because of the reputation of the school involved, that they prefer not to report and make it public. So they try to use all sorts of informal channels. And that is where it is important that they have the right environment created, and the portals like cybercrime.gov.in, which do provide anonymous reporting as well, can be handy, but don't be shy of reporting with your identity being known. It's going to be there. There has to be somebody as first. So these are some of the things which I think schools have to be aware of, schools need to follow. And lastly, because I come from the Ministry of Electronics and IT perspective, I will say that maybe do pay need to the various advisories which are issued by certain. There is a lot of advisories, and there is a lot of information security education and awareness material available on infosecawareness.in, NCRT, maybe any other authentic site, because it is very important, as had been mentioned by Madam earlier also, that there are lots of such sites providing, claiming to provide safety and security. It's important to understand the difference between an authentic site and not so authentic site. So
Yes, thank you
government
so much.
sites for that reason can be taken to be quite authentic. Good, thank you.
Thank you, Maheshwari sir, for that information. Now, coming to questions, a few comments and questions. So, a couple of people have asked about online gaming, that online gaming has become an addiction, a huge menace. And despite PUBG being banned, we find underage children playing PUBG. So, Dr. Angel, could NCRT publish any guidelines or advisory about safe online gaming? See, kids are going to play. And if we advise them what games to play appropriate to their age, it could probably help. And yeah.
This is one of the main concerns, because we always keep telling like use educational games, but when the parents and teachers are not aware, they just tell them go and use any app, any games. So we also see that a lot of issues coming up. So we have taken up an activity last year, and we have yet to release it as a digital version, but we have completed almost the work of identifying the educational games and mobile apps which the students can and teachers can use it. This is very specifically, we started this work from the experience of listening to multiple parents who said like, you are keep on telling us to engage with games, but children are only playing PUBG. They are not knowing what to really play. So it is mandatory. So we have identified around 500 to 600 games which a child can play, have the same fun, and still learn only the important things. And we also have identified around 150 mobile apps that can be used. So shortly NCRT will be releasing these two reference materials for the children and parents to have a guide on these two things.
Okay, that is fantastic. It is the educational entertainment for the children. And Mr. Maheshwari,
just to add one point with what Dr. Rakesh was talking about. This one point where he was telling the teachers are really struggling during this time. We, when we are because NCRT is in the process of writing the guidelines for digital education. So when we are interacting with teachers, two things which we have observed. One is now teachers are complaining bullying by students. Earlier, we were always guiding students how to overcome cyberbullying, but now teachers are being bullied by students. So that needs a real care and advice for teachers. And the other thing which we are observing is all the teachers have become excited about doing online education. So they keep posting many things in social media. When they do this WhatsApp-based teaching, what they do is they take the photograph of the WhatsApp conversations and put it as a photo, revealing all the students' number. So it's very much important that a guideline is required for teachers during this digital education. What are the specific things? So NCERT is also working towards coming out with the guideline on this.
Thank you, Dr. Angel. And in fact, you answered another question which had come up, that bullying, it happens everywhere, and bullying has, or cyberbullying gets magnified because of internet. But the concern was also raised that the children bullying the teacher, the children misbehaving with the teacher. So thank you for already answering the question which had come up. And there is another issue which has been brought up in the comments, is juvenile delinquency, which is on the rise. That was one. And the second is which probably Mr. Maheshwari could address, that especially in the time of COVID, the child protection policies need to be relooked into. So especially that they are online for so many hours. So Mr. Maheshwari, could you elaborate upon the child protection policies, if they do need to be tweaked at this time?
In fact, my view is that we would love to listen to Dr. Angel for whatever work they are doing and whenever it is coming. But from our perspective, I can only tell that we have been engaging with PUBG for quite some time. And starting from 6 hours of playing, which is what they were claiming before the first warning is given, now we are forcing them, we are wanting them that particularly for children, I mean, children means, of course, in India, it has to be less than 18, that they come up with a warning message after every, 2 hours, and then after every hour. But then I'm looking forward from maybe Captain Vineet, from maybe other ministries, because we keep listening that PUBG is bad, but there is no authentic study available in India to say that PUBG has really impacted. Because if there is something available with us, maybe we can take some action. But just by hearsay, just based on some newspaper reports, no action can be initiated against any of the platforms.
So, Mr. Vineet, would you like to talk about it a little more, because you are so connected with the children?
Yeah. No, definitely. As sir suggested, in fact, that's what at Cyber Peace Foundation, one thing that we are strongly taking is the research, so that we give the inputs to the ministry. And in the past, we had already given, and actions were taken against the providers also who are not actually putting strong measures on keeping the children safe. Because one thing that I'd like to again reiterate is majority of the crimes related to children are not reported. So we should definitely make a very strong move in actually getting more and more cases reported. And we should actually teach children so that they can open up. Rather than keeping the thing inside them, they should open up, share what has happened with them to their parents, educators, or whoever they feel comfortable. Plus all these online reporting platforms and channels now that it is available. Maybe a couple of years back, nothing was there. But today, if you talk, thanks to, again, Government of India, a lot of initiatives, the NCRB initiative, cybercrime.gov.in, MEET initiative, ISC, and I see plenty of initiatives happening, a lot of non-profit organizations coming and pushing this. So it's a very big move. Plus, one more thing that I'd like to add here is, again, NCPCR has again taken some lead steps here with one thing, a gaming application was developed for children. And it was actually made available to the schools where the students could learn about do's and don'ts, about cyber ethics through the games that they played. So now I believe the second version is also going to come soon for that gaming application. And secondly, the guidelines, whether it comes to social media or maybe Netflix or Amazon Prime and all these operators which are there, YouTube, all these guidelines have come up. That has been made by NCPCR, which can also be shared to the schools, basically on what needs to be done. And this is age specific for children, say from grade 3rd to grade 8th and beyond. So this has been made available. This has been, like I mentioned, launched last month, which can be actually distributed to the schools so that they know where to begin and what to do in those 2 pages. It's just a 2-pager which they need to refer to get started, and a detailed guideline and the documents are all available by the ministry and the knowledge base at NCERT. So just a quick point there.
Now, I'm sure these guidelines are being widely read and imbibed by a lot of people, whether these are children or parents or any other caregivers, and they are so useful. The last question from the audience, the juvenile delinquency is on the rise, and we definitely need to check it. And Dr. Advocate Bhargav, would you like to talk about it, about some statistics of any cases that you have come across, how the number of cases which have increased from before the COVID to right now? We would love to hear your insights about it.
As far as the data part is concerned, the data before the COVID and during the COVID, I have not gone through it or not, neither it is available. But one thing is very clear, this cyber crimes involving juvenile has raised like anything. Because the cyber world, the basic thing is it attracts and it forces you to do, what is wrong. So the awareness programs which are run by the NCPCR or the foundations like Cyber Peace Foundations, I have come to know today only about this Cyber Peace Foundation and the steps which are being taken by the NCERT. So for protecting the childs from crime, the awareness program and the reporting of the crime is only the solution. The best way is to teach them through gaming apps, the applications to be specifically made for teaching them the pros and cons, as rightly suggested by Mr. Vineet. Apart from that, I have one suggestion for Mr. Maheshwari, that specifically there should be the guidelines or there should be an act for protecting the children from the cyber crimes and for providing the guidelines or the rules for privacy protection. Because there is no such provisions neither in the Juvenile Justice Act or in the Information Technology Act. Number one. Number two, even after the enactment of the Information Technology Act in year 2000, to the best of my knowledge, there are no specific guidelines for collecting the digital evidence which are being codified. So that is also the need of the time, because in case a crime is reported for the investigation purpose, this is the basic thing which must be provided to the cyber officers.
Thank you. Yes, I totally agree with you there. And anybody for the last comments, because we are just closing in next couple of minutes. Mr. Maheshwari?
Yeah.
And then we'll have Dr. Angel after that.
So thank you, Bhargavji, for giving such an insight. And your suggestions are quite useful and will be taken care of in our next amendment that we are trying to work on. Unfortunately, most of other activities take the maximum time, but some of these aspects of privacy of children has already been covered in the draft privacy data protection bill that has been that is pending now in Parliament. So these issues are being addressed. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Maheshwari. Can we move quickly, Dr. Angel? Please.
Actually, most of the time, as Advocate Bhargav was telling, this reporting by students when they have really face a crime is more important, and by teachers as well. So to bring this awareness, there is a very great initiative by Government of India to do mandate training for all the teachers in the country. So in the last year, we have taken up training of all the 42 lakh elementary school teachers, which will move towards secondary. And one of the module is on POSCO. So usually teachers take a back step when we say it's all law and coming in, we are afraid of all that thing. So there is a module which has been very nicely made from the educational pedagogy perspective on POSCO and how a teacher should be aware about the cyber crime, what is happening with related to whatever is POSCO recommending it. And also in that same module, the awareness has been among the teacher proceed further. Really a need of all the people are working together, and we are partnered with CDAC, especially with CDAC Hyderabad, Cyber Peace Foundation, and Google to come out with a specific course for teachers, whatever we have been discussing. So we think that when we bring it out, it would be a very good effort for the teachers.
Thank you. I'll wrap up the discussions now. Thank you, everybody, for such insightful discussions. And thank you, speakers, for sparing your time. Child safety is such a critical issue and must be addressed with immediacy and also very, very sensitively. I thank NCPCR for organizing this one seminar in the series of child safety seminars which they are going to further organize. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for audience for the patient listening, and thank you